Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I'm Andrew Colvett, executive producer of this fine show, joined by Raheem Kassam from thenationalpulse.com, as well as Blake Neff, another one of our producers here. And remotely, we are joined by Liz Wheeler, host of the Liz Wheeler Show podcast on BlazeTV. Check it out there. Liz, welcome to the show. And, it's just great to see you again. It's been a while.
Hi, Andrew. Thanks for having me. It's gut-wrenching, that opening, the montage of Charlie. Just hits you every day, doesn't it?
I know. Every day. And normally, right now we're in D.C., and we keep getting a lot of emails about this. And no, we did not change out Charlie's set. We are just in D.C. to honor Charlie. We're going to be at the White House tomorrow, where he is going to be awarded posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Trump is quickly returning back to the States in order to do that, so we really are grateful to President Trump. So we have not changed the set. We addressed it in hour one, and we're still getting notes. People think we have. We're at the Real America's Voice studio in D.C. It's a brand new, flashy background. I can appreciate that. Liz, so we could start there. Really, tell us what this last month and a few days has meant to you. How has it hit you? What are you seeing? I want to not miss the big E on the eye chart here and let you address that first.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I just want to say that you guys have done such an amazing job honoring Charlie's legacy and carrying forward. I think most people with us today understand exactly what you have shouldered by appearing every day live on this show and making sure that this show stays on air. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it. And I have an idea, as someone who also works on air, how difficult it is to go on air every day. So mad respect for you guys, and I'm sure that Charlie would be so proud of you. It has been, obviously, a gut-wrenching month. It not only was our friend assassinated period, which is gut-wrenching, but it's been extremely jarring, I think, for people who both knew Charlie and who didn't know Charlie personally, who just knew him because of his presence on college campuses and his videos that went viral all the time online. It's been very jarring for people to realize, a lot of people are realizing this for the first time, that Charlie was the one who was assassinated because the left knew his name. But Charlie was the most normal conservative of all of us. He was so generous and so charitable, so kind, so loving. He spoke firmly, but he spoke the truth in love. He wasn't bombastic. He wasn't extreme. He held all the same views, both political and religious, that we do. And that's the reason that he was brutally murdered. And I think for a lot of people, especially in this era of social media and this constant dopamine hit news cycle that we exist in, where people get desensitized to grisly stories, even violent stories, it is easy to kind of just read something nasty and move on with your day, see something kind of violent and move on to the next story that interests you. And for the first time, a lot of people realized, wow, this was not something that I can emotionally distance myself from because I can excuse this happening based on the behavior of the victim. A lot of people realized this could have been me and would have been me had these leftists who targeted Charlie known my name. And I think that it's why you're seeing the spiritual revival in our country too, because when you are confronted with evil, the way that we all were confronted, we saw this happen before our very eyes. And when you're confronted with evil, you realize it's not just left versus right, Republican versus Democrat bickering in our country, that we are engaged in a spiritual battle of good versus evil. And when you see that evil kill your friend, you turn towards the question, okay, if there's evil, there must be good. And what is good? And that leads you, of course, anybody seeking the truth with a capital T is going to find him, is going to find God. And it's been a really gut-wrenching month for me and for all of us, but it's also been really beautiful to see the good that can come from evil.
Yeah, well said. And actually, Raheem, you and I were talking about that in the break, because Raheem was actually at the memorial as well. And you were echoing some of what Liz just said to me. And again, I'm so close to this that it's healing for me to hear our friends tell me what they're seeing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have something to add to
Yeah,
what Liz
look,
said.
I mean, I ran the Tunnel to Towers 5K in New York last week. I've done it for 5 years now, but this year I made a point of wearing the Freedom T-shirt and, you know, running through the streets of Manhattan, having people coming up to me, fist bumping and saying kind words about Charlie. It was incredible. And I think not just the whole world has learned so much about him since that horrific moment, but I've learned more about him. And I've, you know, you see the clips everywhere now, right? Constantly, and study them. And one of the things that I've learned is trying to, what he did was trying to find that common ground with somebody as quickly into the conversation as possible.
So we agree. He would say that.
Right.
So he'd drill down and go, so we agree.
Yes.
Even if it was just the smallest shred of agreement.
Yes. And I think for the world out there, people get frustrated, we get angry, we get all sorts of, with your neighbors and your colleagues, I'm sure, about politics and whatever. But my advice to you would be to mimic Charlie as quickly as you can, even if they don't want to. Find a point of agreement. And I think better conversations are had as a result.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, Liz, that I wanted to talk with you about is this video that I saw. I must have had 5 different people on our team kind of bring it up, and I had been alerted to it actually in the very early days after Charlie was murdered about this armed Queers of SLC group. I mean, this was something we were watching, and Blake and I were in different chats. We were seeing different people apparently know about things beforehand. And I just want to say, we have a unique position where we're not able to necessarily chime in on every different theory about the case because, you know, I'm a spokesman for the org. Blake was an eyewitness. I was not there, thankfully. But this is, I think, something that you can speak into here. And you did a brilliant job with this video, Liz, and you're breaking down the Discord chats, and you're breaking down this group, Armed Queers of SLC. So I'm just going to play a couple of these clips, and I'm going to let you expound on them as we go. But again, I just want to reiterate, just because we're not chiming in, I understand that sometimes leaves a void, and other people are filling that void about this case. But rest assured, we're like a duck on the pond, right? We're steady on top, but underneath our legs are moving a mile a minute. So let's go ahead and play this cut, 79, from Liz Wheeler.
There was a Discord group chat in which Tyler Robinson admitted guilt for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and Kash Patel told the United States Congress that there were at least 20 other people in that Discord group chat with Tyler Robinson. That means at least 20 other people in that Discord chat knew in the immediate aftermath, at the very least, what Tyler Robinson had done. And of course, the question is raised, did they know ahead of time? Did they aid and abet Tyler Robinson? Did he have any accomplices?
Liz Wheeler.
Yeah, so I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, I think I can say, as someone who's not part of the active investigation, that when you're part of an active investigation, you are limited in what you're able to say. And I think most of us in the country recognize that, Andrew, and appreciate what you're doing behind the scenes. I'm in a position where I can dig into any of this research, and we have been doing deep dives into this research because there is, at the very least, circumstantial evidence that the FBI believes is strong enough that they have opened an investigation. This is public knowledge. It's not just me telling you what my sources told me. This is now public knowledge. The FBI has opened an investigation into whether there were groups or individuals who had foreknowledge of Tyler Robinson's plan to assassinate Charlie Kirk. One of these groups is a group called Armed Queers SLC, Armed Queers Salt Lake City. And this group, Armed Queers, I mean, the name describes their goals pretty well, but their goal is to train gay, queer, and transgender people to arm themselves and fight against capitalism and the American system. They are a communist group, a Marxist group, a Leninist group, and this is not me describing their ideology. This is not me inferring what their ideology is. This is their own words describing their ideology as a Marxist-Leninist group. They abide by... Go ahead. What's your question? Because I have a few things.
This is really important stuff. We're gonna go through the breaks with you, Liz.
Sure.
So if you're streaming, please keep, and Real America's Voice, please stay with us. I'm gonna quickly tell you about Tax Network USA. The government needs more money, and that would be your money that they're coming for. So if you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. So don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are are experts rather, in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt altogether. Tax Network USA is A+ rated and has saved over $1 billion. That's right, $1 billion with a B. Whether you owe a few thousand or a few $1,000,000, they can help you. In just one phone call, you can start the process, stopping the threatening demand letters, stopping the aggressive collections, and resolving your tax matters once and for all. But you have to act now while you still have options. For a free consultation, go to tnusa.com. That's tnusa.com. We'll be right back. All right, more with Liz Wheeler here. Liz, I'm actually going to play a clip from that same video that you posted about the Armed Queers SLC. Let's play cut 80.
There's another group in Utah called Armed Queers Salt Lake City. This was reported on by the New York Post. They are a group of LGBTQIA identifying people, and the purpose of this group, and this is a quote, is to train gay, queer, and transgender people to arm themselves and fight against capitalism and the American system. This group, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, scrubbed their online presence. They deleted their Instagram account, and according to the New York Post, the FBI is investigating whether they had any foreknowledge or any association with Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Blake, I will never forget, in the immediate aftermath and some of our chats, you were showing me screen grabs of people that seemed to have foreknowledge, and this is something I cannot get over.
There were some really dark ones. I know one of our staff members actually found one. It was on TikTok, I believe, and it was just this person like, oh man, I don't know if we have it ready to go. They might be able to send it to me, but it was like this girl just like, Charlie's gonna like learn something tomorrow. Some very ominous thing that's playing this ominous music, and it's just doing this scan past this person's eyes. I don't know if it was a man or a woman. Common problem with this group. Yeah. And they were just like glance to the side repeatedly. And
by the way,
doing that, and it was deleted as soon as the attack happened.
Yeah, but we've sent these to the
yes.
authorities. Just
no,
rest
these have been sent
yeah.
on. We've made sure the FBI is aware of this.
Yeah.
Well,
so
but I spoke with one of our staffers, and she's told me something did seem up before the event. It just like the vibes you were seeing on TikTok. It was just a little bit darker than usual.
Yeah.
And it just would not be shocking if someone at least had some heads up on this.
Yeah. Well, and there was people that were saying like something big is going to happen tomorrow. You're going to know it when you see it. I mean, there's some very dark, nasty things that we discovered in this. Liz Wheeler.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the post that Blake's talking about. We also pulled these offline. It wasn't just one or two. I believe there were at least 6 to 7 different posts of people that, and it seems more than a coincidence to me, that were signaling foreknowledge of some kind of violence. Like Charlie doesn't know what's coming. And, there was a song on Spotify called, The Assassination of Charlie Kirk on that day, on September 10th, that just doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. I'm glad the FBI is taking this seriously and investigating this, because when you deep dive into this group, this Armed Queers of Salt Lake City, again, the connections between the people running the group and the other groups they're associated with and the crimes that they've been tangentially close to, it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence. It seems like something that I can't say, it's likely that this happened, but it seems like there's circumstantial evidence that points to the possibility that there were people that were in knowledge of this, especially given what the mission of this group is. Yeah,
well, and when we welcome back radio, Liz, I'm going to play another piece of your tape talking about the UN, because there's a weird connection to the UN, believe it or not, with this group, and Liz, you'll explain it. But the questions that to me are the most pressing is who knew what when, how many people knew it, and what are the future intentions of this group? Because everything I can gather from this is that if there's people in this network that have been radicalized, financed, trained, whatever, that were part of radicalizing this individual, how many others are there? And are we really safe until these people are brought to justice, or indicted the way they should be. I understand that you've got to sort of measure once, cut twice when it comes to an investigation, but this is stuff that I sit alone at night pondering. This is like the thoughts that are going through my head every night, which is why I wanted to have you, Liz. So we're going to welcome back our national radio audience in about 2 seconds. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. More with Liz Wheeler, host of the Liz Wheeler Show on BlazeTV. Check it out there. Liz, I'm going to play another cut from this video that you published and put out. It was tremendous. Again, so many of our team members were like, please look into this stuff. I'm like, we are. But let's have Liz be the one that explains it to us for some obvious reasons. Let's go ahead and play cut 81. This is about the ties to the UN. 81.
Data Republican published a thread on X saying that this group, Armed Queers Salt Lake City, is not only an independent group, this group has actually gotten money and support from the United States government, from the State Department, and from the UN. The leader of Armed Queers SLC, her name is Ermaya Fanayan, was recognized by a State Department affiliated NGO called Utah Global Diplomacy as a recipient for the 7 for 17 award for advancing the UN's 17 sustainability goals.
So we are helping finance armed militias of queer people?
Yeah, evidently. And I'd like to make a correction to something that I said in that video, too. The leader of Armed Queers SLC, or Maya Fanayan, I called this individual she. Well, my mistake. Ermaya Fanayan is actually a biological male who transitioned in high school. And, it's funny, when I saw the name Ermaya Fanayan, my reaction to my producer when we first saw this name is like, that sounds like a fake name. Well, it is a fake name. This individual is a biological male who identifies as a female, so it's a he, not a she. But this man who identifies as transgender, who is the leader of Armed Queers SLC, was given money by, it seems shocking to even say it, a U.S. government agency, the State Department. They give money to NGOs. This is the whole Mike Benz exposing exactly how our tax money goes through the State Department and gets disseminated out to these NGOs that are really just radical leftist political activism organizations. And this is another example of it. I mean, Utah Global Diplomacy, this NGO, is giving money to Ermaya Fanayan. And this is the thing, Andrew. If I may dive into a little bit of the connections between Ermaya Fanayan, this group Armed Queers, and some of the other violence that we've seen, the left-wing violence that we've seen around the country. This is where I think it gets especially fascinating. If you go back to July in Texas, in Alvarado, Texas, you remember the shooting that happened at the ICE facility. Now, this was the first shooting at the first ICE facility in Texas, not the Dallas one, the Alvarado one. Now, the individual who was arrested for that crime was a man named Benjamin Song. He's a 32-year-old man, and he's a member of two different organizations. And it's important to understand that these different leftist organizations, while they seem separate, just wait, because I'm going to tie them all together, because they are tied together. He was a member of a group called the Socialist Rifle Association and another group called the John Brown Gun Club. And he's the one who was charged for that shooting. Now, the woman who was charged as his accomplice is also a member of the John Brown Gun Club. And we'll get to that one in a second. But the Socialist Rifle Association is really important because this group has up to 10,000 members across the United States. They're an openly communist socialist group. Their mission, like Armed Queers, is to arm themselves to overthrow the ruling class, they call it. They define this culturally, not economically. They want to defend against fascists and Nazis. There have been members of their group who've said any attempt to disarm, quote-unquote, workers must be frustrated by force if necessary. The logo of this group is a trans flag with an assault rifle. 4 of, I think, the dozen leaders of this group go by they, them pronouns. This group, Andrew, this is where it's critical. This group on Reddit years ago, the Socialist Rifle Association, this group lied about Charlie Kirk, and like I said, many years ago, and said that he called for the lynching of trans people. So the vilification of Charlie Kirk by these radical, violent, militant trans groups has been ongoing for some time. Now, this particular group, the Socialist Rifle Association, has been tied to many violent crimes in our nation, crimes that we're unfortunately very familiar with. The bombings of the Tesla dealerships, This, of course, before the July 4th ICE attack in Alvarado, Texas. Now, this group, the Socialist Rifle Association, I would describe as a front group for even more violent groups like Antifa. And the funding for these groups, whether it's Antifa, whether it's Armed Queers SLC, whether it's the Socialist Rifle Association, they actually, you can draw the funding back to one source, which we'll get to in a second. So if we're talking about Antifa, and I know this is a little complicated, but this is how they design it, Andrew. They design it so that it's confusing, so that they can obfuscate exactly how they coordinate with each other and where the money comes from and who's in charge, and so that it looks like it is their favorite narrative is to claim that they're a decentralized network. They have no leadership. They're a shadow. They're the wind. Well, that's not true if you look at their association. So the Socialist Rifle Association has overlap with Antifa in the sense that the Socialist Rifle Association has been photographed many times with Antifa black bloc protesters.
Yeah, I'm gonna have,
Go ahead.
let me pause you really quick. We're gonna keep going in the break. Hang right there. More with Liz Wheeler in just 1 second. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Liz, I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off. This is important. I'm riveted.
No, you're good.
Please continue.
Okay, so again, follow along because I know this is complicated, but this is how they intend it to be. They want us to be confused, but once you see this, you can't unsee this. So the Socialist Rifle Association has a chapter in St. George, Utah. That is the location where Charlie's alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, was cohabitating with his, transgender lover, Lance Twiggs. When the Socialist Rifle Association chapter in St. George, Utah, was asked if Tyler Robinson was a member of their group, they denied it. They said, no, he wasn't. But then, when the Socialist Rifle Association chapter in St. George, Utah, was asked if Lance Twiggs, Tyler Robinson's so-called roommate, this transgender lover, was a member, they refused to confirm or deny that based on their policy of confidentiality of members of their group. So, again, that's circumstantial evidence. That doesn't confirm anything, but it does make you think, okay, why was their response to the question about Tyler Robinson being a member different than their response about Lance Twiggs? If he wasn't a member and he wasn't associated, why didn't they outright deny it the way that they denied Tyler Robinson being a member of that group? If I'm the FBI, I'm looking into that. Now, here's where the Socialist Rifle Association becomes more intertwined with armed queers. Going back to that man, Benjamin Song, who was convicted after the ICE shooting in Alvarado, Texas. He was a member of the Socialist Rifle Association, but also a group called the John Brown Gun Club. The John Brown Gun Club is essentially Antifa, but they have ties, Andrew, to Armed Queers. Armed Queers Salt Lake City co-hosted, they called it an educational workshop. It's really a militant training weekend with the Elm Fork branch of the John Brown Gun Club. That's the same group, the perpetrators behind this July 4th Alvarado ICE facility shooting. And the founder of Armed Queers, this biological man with the made-up name, or Maya Fanayan, pretending to be a girl, he appears to have promoted this collaboration between the John Brown Gun Club, associated with the Socialist Rifleist Association, and Armed Queers on his private Instagram. You cannot, when I say you cannot make this stuff up, it's obviously more than a coincidence. You have these multiple groups: Armed Queers, Socialist Rifle Association, John Brown Gun Club, Antifa members, which really just operate hidden behind these leftist groups so that they can claim they're a decentralized network. You have the social media posts of, 6 or 7 individuals in Utah in the month leading up to Charlie's assassination that seemed to signal foreknowledge. You have these very strange text messages between Lance Twiggs and Tyler Robinson, which I know there are some people that claim that they're fabricated. It doesn't seem to me that they're fabricated by someone on the outside. It seems like a question, if I were the FBI, I would investigate whether they were fabricated to cover for Lance Twiggs, because he seemed to be the one who had potential associations with these radical groups.
Yeah, and on that, a lot of people, there's a lot of speculation online. I know that some of these digital evidence that they have looks like it was correspondence intentionally sent to cover for Lance Twiggs. So I'm aware, we're very aware of that as well. I want to show you something else from Utah. This is the Salt Lake Tribune, put up 99. This is Salt Lake Tribune, and they said this is a cartoonist who's since moved to Portugal because of because of Trump or whatever. And it's a guy named Pat Bagley, and he did a drawing here. This is the original.
For failure to honor their oaths to protect and defend the Constitution from the dictatorial whims of a malignant clown.
And it's called the Hole in the Head Gang, and it's a wanted poster that includes Mike Lee, looks like John Curtis.
I think it's their whole congressional delegation.
Exactly. Burgess Owens, et cetera, et cetera. And there is this very conspicuous red scarves around each of the characters, which is troubling. This was posted on October 7th, so the 1-year anniversary of what happened in Israel, but also within a month, less than a month after the assassination of Charlie Kirk in the state of Utah, they published this. So something, Liz, to me is awry here, and there seems to be this very malignant vein of violent fetishization at the very least, and obviously outright violence, depending on who's perpetrating it. But Liz, I gotta go at this point. We could keep you into the next break. I don't know what your schedule is, but we're about to welcome back radio. But I think that was a really, really important breakdown that you just gave us and gave our audience to connect all these pieces. So if you want to stick around, we can do.
Sure.
Let me know. Okay, great. We'll do a few more minutes with Liz Wheeler. We will be right back. We're going to welcome back radio.
The next great awakening is here. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, think about it. Every dollar you spend is either supporting your values or working against your values. So in today's economy where you spend your money is super, super important. Patriot Mobile is leading the way as America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. Switch today without sacrificing quality or service. You'll get exceptional nationwide coverage because unlike most wireless providers on a budget, Patriot Mobile has access to all 3 major wireless networks. You can even add 2 numbers on 2 different networks on one phone, something the other guys can't even do. So stay connected with flexible, unlimited data plans to fit your lifestyle. These plans offer high-speed data, mobile hotspots, international roaming, device protection, and even internet backup. Here's the best part. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're supporting faith, family, and freedom. If you believe in our First and Second Amendment rights, you're going to want to stick with these guys. Sanctity of life, supporting our veterans. Switching is simple. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. You go to patriotmobile.com/Charlie or call 972-PATRIOT. Again, that's patriotmobile.com/Charlie or 972-PATRIOT. Call that right now. And if you use the promo code Charlie, you get a free month of service with that. So please check out our partners there. I want to play this clip for you, Liz, and get your reaction. I want to bring you in as well, Raheem. Let's go ahead and play cut 100 from Erin Burnett at CNN. She's describing Antifa and these radicalization networks, and she's carrying their water. I don't know why, but we can discuss it after. 100.
And obviously, I'm not going to sit here and defend anybody who considers themselves part of an Antifa movement, such that it is. But such that it is the operative part of that sentence. Antifa is far from a major sophisticated terror organization like Hezbollah, Hamas, or ISIS. In fact, it's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, which have had national leaders, unlike Antifa. There is no organized hierarchy to the group, and according to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
So, Liz, I want you to relate this back to what you were just talking about. All these disconnected, seemingly disconnected groups, but they aren't disconnected. They're sort of decentralized on purpose.
Yes, exactly. And listen, the mainstream media, CNN, Erin Burnett, they're beyond just stupid at this point. They're propagandists for not just the Democrat Party, but this. I mean, that graphic that you showed, that cartoon, it's demonic. That's what it is at this point. So listen, Antifa wants you to think that they are a decentralized network, that they're a grassroots, organic group of citizens who just want to raise their voices in opposition to government policies or yada, yada, yada. And the mainstream media is only too happy to parrot exactly what talking points they are given. But this is how Antifa operates. They operate behind the mask of a whole host of radical leftist groups. Many of them have actually quite innocuous names to even hide that they are leftist. But they hide behind these groups, these leftist activist groups that will stage what they call training workshops, where Antifa members come and get training, or Antifa will collaborate with these groups for joint marketing and joint resources, joint transportation and mobilization. They essentially are the parasites, intentionally, on these leftist groups so that they can get funding and leadership and direction and mobilization without actually ever having to report it, so that they can just fade into the shadows when anyone comes to investigate what they're doing. But Andrew, here's the thing. Going back to the Armed Queers group for a second, the founder of Armed Queers, Maya Fanayan, is also an organizer at PSL. That's the Party of Socialism and Liberation. You may recognize the Party of Socialism and Liberation. It's a communist political party here in the United States, because they were the primary organizers behind the violent anti-ICE riots that we saw out in Los Angeles just a month or two ago, when we were told, again, that that was also organic and grassroots. It was not. It was staged. It was funded. It was organized. There was collaboration. And the Party of Socialism and Liberation, this kind of fringe communist political party, isn't just an autonomous unit. It's not just a group of people. It's funded by Neville Roy Singham, this almost billionaire. He's an American citizen, but he lives in China, in communist China, because he's a communist. And it's his money, Andrew, that goes through all of these left-wing groups to fund the violence that we're seeing in the United States, whether it's the anti-ICE riots, whether it's the Students for Justice in Palestine, this pro-Hamas stuff that we see on college campuses, or this radical trans violence that we're seeing.
Well, yeah, and it begs the question, why are we allowing this, right? Because we can see the impact that it's having on our culture, the violence, this rise of left-wing violence. And by the way, it should not go left unsaid, rather, that the bullet casings found with Tyler Robinson included Antifa slogans. So, just because there may not be black bloc in the wardrobe here of Tyler Robinson or the trans lover, doesn't mean that they aren't influenced and inspired and radicalized by these same ideas that are floating around. Raheem, I want to bring you in here really quick. What is with this rising, it seems like this tendency, it's like the talking point went out to Democrats. Why are they saying that Antifa doesn't exist now, or it's not like a real thing? I thought we were so past this. I mean, we also had Jimmy Kimmel said the same thing. He said, Antifa doesn't exist. On air. It's like he didn't learn his lesson. What's behind this?
You know, the wonderful thing in that Erin Burnett clip about where she's equivocating is I'm old enough to remember when people were going on CNN claiming that Hezbollah wasn't a terrorist organization. And she uses Hezbollah there as an example of a real terrorist organization. As if all terror factions and groups are the same. As if what we're talking about here, and I take Liz's point really about the way they hide behind lots of different groups. But it's kind of like a blockchain of radicalization. It's what you're seeing out there, right? And there doesn't need to be central party leader. It's not a political party. It's not a major corporation. This is a group of deeply disturbed individuals who have grown up being indoctrinated to hate their country, and in most cases, to hate themselves. And to sort of invoke, Charlie's empathy here. We hate the sin, not the sinner, right? We are almost called to have some level of sympathy towards these people, because think about the families that they grew up in. Think about the lives they had to grow up in. If you are raised in the United States of America in the years 2000 forward, yes, there's been hardship. Yes, there's been financial crisis. Yes, we've had 9/11. Yes, we've had terrible wars overseas. But you are living the best life of anybody in the entire world. You are more privileged than anybody in the entire world. You have access to more capital. You have access to more innovation. You have access to all these things. And for these people to want to tear down that system, I mean, Erin Burnett doing what she's doing on CNN right now actually harms those people more. She's driving them underground. She's helping them stay underground. And if she was really, truly dedicated to the cause of normalization instead of radicalization, then she would call it out for what it is. But CNN has been, for so very long, like much of the mainstream media, a key facet in radicalizing these people.
Yes, I totally agree. By the way, I'm going to, it's one after the other here, guys. So here's Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, saying that Antifa doesn't exist. 105.
First person I ever heard use the word Antifa was Donald J. Trump when he was going on about how there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville. That's the first time I ever heard anyone use the term. So now it's this amorphous thing, and if nobody's really Antifa, then everybody could be. And the reason you can't find them is because they're just that crafty.
No, you are contributing to a strategy of
He's just a liar.
hiding
He's just
in plain
a liar.
sight.
Put it up. Put up the B-roll. He did a pose in 2020. He's posing with Antifa, the anti-fascist handbook by I can't
Mark
actually
Bray.
Can't say, Mark Bray, who
is a Rutgers professor
yeah.
who just fled to Spain.
attempted. Didn't they stop
No,
him?
he ended up getting through.
Hopefully he doesn't come back.
Well,
But-
hopefully he's not still on payroll, Rutgers. We are on that case like white on
But
rice.
it's a despicable thing. It is just calculated lying here, where what they do is it's exactly he's fueling it, because what they do is they do keep it distributed, they keep it amorphous, which is how the left operates in generally. The left benefits from entropy. They benefit from really widely distributing things. We saw that in 2020, where no one needed to send a central order to do riots or after the George Floyd thing. They just kind of all knew, and it distributes much more easily throughout their networks.
Well, they do have a loose network, and maybe, Liz, this is a good point for you to make, but they do have a loose network of foot soldiers, right? I'll never forget that Time Magazine article about how it was by Molly Ball,
Yep.
right, where they talked about after the election, everybody was surprised because the foot soldiers weren't, they weren't dispatched out into the streets to riot. And everybody was surprised, but that's because there are captains in this loose network that either say go or don't go. Here's the signs, here's your money, show up here or not to show up here. It's loose, it's disconnected.
Well, I think it's a little tighter than that, actually, because a lot of it comes out of the unions and the union networks. There is formalized structure here. We've just sort of accepted it. We don't dig into these people in these places.
Yeah. Well, and there is, I think, probably, and Liz, maybe this would be a good point for you, is there is a difference, and these things do sort of bleed one into the other, and there are gradations of extremism, right, from, starting maybe at the union organizers all on the way down, and there might be some people that are more radicalized, and they happen to be in a union, and they happen to be part of these sort of foot soldier networks. 2 minutes to you, Liz.
Yeah, let me go back to Raheem's point from before, because I think this is actually really critical in understanding why this demonic hatred, this assassination culture, as Charlie called it, has become so mainstream on the left, that this is not a fringe viewpoint that a few people hold. We've all had friends on Facebook that we thought were just normal but kind of leftists who were celebrating Charlie's murder, and it's so gut-wrenching. But Raheem mentioned that these people who are now these Antifa members have been radicalized. They've been brainwashed, not just to hate you, but to hate themselves. And in my book, Hide Your Children, I wrote this 2 years ago. I write about the indoctrination of children that happens in public school from a very low level. And I said, listen, critical race theory and trans ideology pack a 1-2 punch, because critical race theory comes in and tells these young children to hate themselves based on the color of their skin, black or white. You're either an oppressor or oppressed. You're disgusting. And then trans ideology comes in and says, but we're going to offer you salvation. We're going to offer you redemption, because otherwise you can't be redeemed because it's inherent to your skin color. If you put on the mantle this identity of transgenderism, if you become one of the oppressed, the LGBTQIA, then you can be redeemed from your evil identity. And I got some heat, Andrew, after the Covenant School shooting for saying, just accurately describing the transgender ideology as not just damaging and anti-biology, but for describing it as a violent, inherently violent, revolutionary ideology that intentionally targets vulnerable youth to turn them into kamikazes for the communist vanguard. And I hate, it's gut-wrenching for me to even say that's what we've seen happen since I made that warning, because that's really what the transgender ideology is all about. It's about targeting these children, telling them that they're horrible, and the only way they can be redeemed is by essentially embracing the devil. And then once they're captured, they're used as human suicide bombers, essentially, to assault the right.
Wow. I think well said, Liz. We've got a quick break coming up in a second, right, guys? getting a little confused. I think we have a break. We're going to keep going in the break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. I'm going to play this clip here. This is, it's a little bit of a longer clip, but it's like the talking point went out about how we're just going to act on the left like Antifa doesn't exist, guys. 106.
No Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
It isn't an organization. It is in many ways mythology.
It's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, sort of defined terrorist organizations with leadership that leads violence.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are.
Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist. They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa organization, so maybe that's good for social media, but it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that where they run discussion boards, trade tactics, documents, things like that. But none of them are called Antifa.
None of them are called Antifa. A little shout out to Tom Elliott from Grabian who put that montage together. Really powerful seeing it all the talking heads that spew this radicalization. And they really are giving a sheen of legitimacy to a network of radicalized individuals that have, like Mark Bray, the professor at Rutgers, are justifying violent activity, violent illiberal activity, preemptive violence. And Mark Bray, in his book, the Antifa Handbook, which Keith Ellison is holding, I looked into this, he actually advocates for fists, knives, guns, heavy weaponry, if necessary, to essentially deconstruct the Western capitalist system. He has completely given up on debate, open dialogue, these sorts of things. That's what the whole handbook is about. It's about violence. And Rutgers University is employing this guy, as far as I know, right now, today, even though he fled to Europe once after Charlie's assassination, this became more of a hot topic. So this guy is such a coward that he advocates for a violent political system. And then the second he gets called out on it, he's such a coward, existing in the world that he was advocating for, he flees from it because it's a garbage system. It's a garbage idea. Nobody wants to live in that world. So shame on you, coward Mark Bray. You flee to Spain and you stay there. And I hope Rutgers University will do the right thing and permanently fire this garbage human for good. Can you just stay in Spain? Good riddance to you. And by the way, there was a whole group on campus that tried to launch a petition against our Turning Point chapter there, completely lying and defaming them, saying we were inciting violence. So New Jersey, Rutgers, I want to know what your explanation is. I am not going to let go of that story. I'm a dog with a bone. I put a whole thing on X over the weekend. So I'm not going anywhere. It seemed like you wanted to say something.
No, there are several things there that I think require further explanation as well. I mean, a lot of the left really believes, they think they're still fighting the Spanish Civil War, which is probably why he's fled to Spain of all places.
I thought about that too.
He does think, that's where this whole thing comes from. But so many of the groups on the left are Antifa today. They don't have to be called Antifa to be part of Antifa. This thing that we've legitimized and allowed it to happen, it reminds me of the way sort of Thatcher dealt with it. And by the way, it would be Margaret Thatcher's 100th birthday today.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I just had to shoehorn that one in.
You have to.
There's so much there that we're not unpacking yet, and we've got to do it.
Well, let's do it. We've got one more segment with Liz Wheeler and Raheem Kassam and Blake Neff. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Final segment of the day. It's and we have a little surprise for tomorrow, I should say. So we did not change the Charlie Kirk Show set.
You'll keep asking. We assure you.
The emails
The
keep
chair is
coming
fine.
in. We
Set
got
is fine.
It's all there. We're just in DC for the day, and tomorrow we're going to be in a different location, which we will announce soon. But anyways, I want to wrap this up. I think this has been a really important conversation because I think it's important that our audience understands how these networks of radicalization. Yeah, Antifa it's not like it doesn't have a board. It's not like a Delaware company. You know, that's not what we're suggesting. It is an ideological movement with many branches. A lot of them have Twitter handles, by the way, like Portland or Chicago, New York. You don't always know who's running those Twitter handles or who's financing, what networks are sending money or not sending money, but they are kind of hive mind. And by the way, Liz, this goes back to some of your main points from the top of the hour, that they are a loose connection of networks that might be connected to the John Brown Gun Club or Armed Queers SLC. But they are all sort of like-minded. Maybe they have different focuses, but this is what's happening. And when you see a graphic like this, it's one that I keep harping on, but I want to throw it up again. It's here in the chat. It's the groups that are most radicalized for violence. Liz, this is a really shocking, guys. If you could find that, it's the 18 to 39-year-olds are that are self-described as progressive. Liz, yes, this is the graph. Look at that one node on the left, that blue node up at 30% of self-described self-described liberals say that violence is an acceptable form of political intervention, that it can be justified. 30%. And meanwhile, you look at conservatives of that same age group, and they are the most peaceful of any of the cohorts. Liz Wheeler, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think the question that we have to ask when we look at that graphic, which is quite shocking to behold presented visually like that, is why? Why are 18 to 39-year-old men who identify as leftists, usually they're not the most masculine examples of men either, so why are these individuals the most violent? And the answer is indoctrination. They're not born inherently violent, so they are being groomed into this violence, into this ideology. And the way that they're being groomed is multifactorial. It's through the public school system. It's not just universities. It starts early. It starts as early as primary school. The public school system, certainly colleges and universities. Obviously, TikTok has played a large role here. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but there's also a violent subculture of the video gaming world that is, and Tyler Robinson's actually a good example of that, that is desensitized to violence because of the violence of the video games that they're playing. There are also a generation of young men who have been poisoned by big pharma, and that impacts the way that their consciences operate. So they are vulnerable youth ripe for this indoctrination, and they're, of course, military-aged young men. So the people who are organizing this violence know that they're the ones most likely to carry it out.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what you were saying, Raheem, that and Blake, I want to hear from you too in the last few minutes we have here, but it reminds me of what you're saying. You live in this amazing country. Yes, we have problems. Charlie was very honest about those problems. He was calling for an economic moonshot to get the next generation bought in, to have skin in the game of the American dream. All those things are very important, but it doesn't negate the fact that this is still the land of opportunity. You have to seize it. You have to believe that you have the opportunity to engage. And that was really the message that Charlie was preaching to young men, is that you have the initiative, the ability within yourself to take ownership of your own life. And I think there is this propensity to veer in denialism where you just don't feel like you can. And then you end up becoming disengaged with polite society, you become dissident culture, whatever, and you get violent.
On Columbus Day especially, I remind myself, we actually have an article up about it on the National Pulse, of why I'm here. What attracted me to America is I've left a country that has this politics of envy at its core. In the United Kingdom, if you earn money and you do well, people sort of sneer at you. They go, ooh, that's a bit gauche. It's a bit much. Why don't you calm down? In America, if you do very well, people go, dude, that's so cool. Like, how can I help? Like, I want to get involved. I want to do something like that. There's a whole different culture about it. And, I'm not just a commentator in this conversation about extremism. I was a counter-extremism practitioner as my first job out of college. I advised the British government, advised the British Parliament on radical Islamic terrorism and extremism on college campuses. And the hallmarks of what's going on the left today bear the same hallmarks of how young Islamic men were radicalized in the early 2000s.
That's fascinating. I would love to hear more of that. Blake, do you want to take us home? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we only have 20 seconds left.
I know.
I'm going to throw out one thing. Some of them are radicalized, but a lot are just bad people, and you should be wary of, like, there are a lot of people who are malevolent, resentful, acquisitive, entitled, very negative energy, and they like the left because it gives them an excuse to vent all of their bile.
It justifies
We'll
their
be
bile,
back tomorrow from a new location.
Liz
and
Wheeler, thank
tune
you.
in. Charlie's getting the Medal of Freedom.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Liz.